What is Bitcoin? It's digital money, and that's what Satoshi Nakamoto. He came up with this white paper with the fundamental idea of it, and he wrote the first 30,000 lines of code that embedded this set of rules. Every transaction that takes place with Bitcoin held in this blockchain. So every 10 minutes a new block is created, and all the transactions from the last 10 minutes downloaded in effect and held on that block. The blockchain is just an electronic ledger. So in terms of what is Bitcoin, I think it's really useful to start with the white paper, which was published in 2008 by a pseudonymous cypherpunk called Satoshi Nakamoto. And we don't know whether that's a he, she or they. Might have been a group of people, we just don't know. And the white paper basically described the foundation for a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And that had been worked on for years. People had tried to find the breakthrough in that space. Because when you and I transact, if I want to buy accounting services from you, and if it's an Apple, I can pay cash. That's peer-to-peer.
Correct.
Right? But if it's paying for your services online and I want to do that via ETF, then we need to trust a third party, being the bank, to take care of the ledger, to know that I've got the money in my bank, that it gets transferred to your bank account, and they keep track of that ledger of the money coming out of my bank account and going into your bank account.
Correct.
Yeah? That's needed to happen up until Bitcoin, because there was no way of doing it peer-to-peer without the problem known as the double spend problem. And the double spend problem is whereby it's digital money, it can be copied and pasted, but there was no way of me being able to send that money to you and not be guaranteed that I don't try and then send the same money to somebody else as well.
Okay.
So the bank is keeping track of that and making sure that we don't double spend our dollars and try and pay for my goods and services with you, and then the goods and someone else at the same time. And nobody had ever cracked the code for how do we do that electronically, peer-to-peer, without a third-party intervention. And that's what Satoshi Nakamoto cracked. What is Bitcoin? So he came up with this white paper with the fundamental idea of it, and he wrote the first 30,000 lines of code that embedded this set of rules. So it's a protocol like the internet. And I think what's really important to differentiate here is that there's capital B Bitcoin, which is the protocol and the blockchain. And what we're going to get into in a moment is then there's lowercase b Bitcoin, which is the currency that comes out of that. So starting at the protocol level, what's happening is that it sets up a ledger, just as the bank has a ledger, but it's electronic and it's not monitored by anyone except for this set of electronic rules, this code. Every transaction that takes place with Bitcoin is held in this blockchain. So every 10 minutes a new block is created, and all the transactions from the last 10 minutes downloaded in effect and held on that block. And then the next 10 minutes worth, and then the next 10 minutes worth, and then the next 10 minutes worth. And so fundamentally, the blockchain is just an electronic ledger. And importantly, it's decentralized, which means that it's being managed and looked after, and the transactions are being validated by millions of miners across the globe, and potentially millions, we don't know, of what's called nodes, which is getting into a level of technicality that's probably irrelevant for most people's purposes, except to say that there's huge numbers of checks and balances. You've got huge numbers of people and computers double-checking every transaction is valid, is not double spent, followed through, that if I've sent my money to you and you've sent your money to someone else, and that's happened over the course of 20 minutes, the first transaction goes on the first block and the second transaction goes on the second block, and the block can see, because it's chained and connected to one another, it can see the first transaction and therefore the coins that are relevant for the second transaction, and follows the chain of events of that transaction.